Hello and welcome to AJ Paints. I'm Andy and this is Count Binface. I bought this beautiful lead miniature of the intergalactic space warrior from Sigma 9 from Troublemaker Games, and I'm trying to give it to a friend for a leaving present, and she's leaving tomorrow, so I've got to be really fast. Straight into cleanup with a knife and my file. I've got no time for fancy basing on this one, so a couple of quick drops of super glue and it's going straight into the old slotter base, as you can see here. Now the next job is to get some sandy surface on there to represent Count Binface's current battleground, and I'm starting off again with super glue because it's super fast, and I'm going to drop it into some bicarb of soda, baking powder, which gives you a really nice fine textured finish. Now you can see here that the Count is standing on something. It took me a while to work out what it was, but eventually I realised arch nemesis Lord Buckethead. Clearly the Count has defeated him in some kind of terrifying battle, perhaps on the sands of Sigma 9. Anyway, going straight in for an undercoat. This is just Viejo black primer. I'm just applying this straight on with the brush, and here you can see it's gone on nice and smooth. Gives us a great starting point to work from. I'm using a really limited number of colours on here. Viejo, model colour black, German grey, blue grey and white, and just going to mix them all up to get the basic colours. So the underclothing is a sort of a light grey. I've gone for a German grey for a base, and I'm going to build it up very slowly to a slightly lighter colour. For the moment, just getting that on there. And then the metallic portions of his armour, and just again going in with a pretty straightforward colour here. That's just the straight blue grey. And then on the bin, I've undercoated the base panels with German grey, and then at the moment I'm just dropping in where I want the brightest lights to sit. I'm not painting this with metallic paint. I prefer to place my highlights where I want them, so just on the most reflective parts, the tops of the handles, where I'm imagining the light shining from the left hand side, and we'll see how that goes. So coming around the back, I'm placing this highlight almost on the opposite side to where I put the one around the front. Now the cloak on the outside, on the back anyway, is a really nice bright silver colour on the Count's uniform. So I've started with German grey, and then I've mixed that in with a little bit of the pale blue grey, and I'm just starting to build up layers really where I'm imagining the light's going to fall. As I get closer to the top, I'm gradually mixing more of the pale blue grey in until I get just the finest highlights just in the smallest spaces. That's that layer painting method. I'm not being very neat and tidy with it because I don't really need to be, and you can see here just mixing up even with a little bit of white to get that real bright highlight. And you can see in a second when I get a bit closer, the highlights, they're not very smooth, but it doesn't really matter. I've also kept the white highlights reasonably large, not making them too small because I don't want it to read as metal, don't want it to read as too reflective, shiny, just a nice soft smooth grey surface. Now let's focus back in on the main armour and the clothing on the body. So there's loads of different bits on here. This waistband I'm building up with German grey and a little bit of the lighter colour. I've gone for a slightly lighter colour here, building up the colours on the underclothing, and then moving back to the bin. And really the whole of the rest of this video is a constant back and forth with me getting lighter and lighter colours or tones and then dropping them in where I want them. So here building up the reflection on the bin, opposite to the way I've done the cloak, really bright, and here the reflection on the shoulder pads going as bright and as white as I can with sort of fine highlights. You can see that really well on this arm guard here. Selling the metallic finish on these bits means going from black to white in as small a space as you can possibly go. So be quite brave with your highlights on this kind of thing. This isn't even white yet, I'm still at a pale grey. I'll move to the white later. Bin lid, just some lines. I like using lines rather than blends it's faster. It looks nice as well. And some tiny white highlights just on the handles. Again, imagining that this is something that's a bit more reflective. Edge highlighting is really useful for metal. I'm not overusing it, only just in a couple of places. And here just building up a little bit of reflection towards the bottom to make the bin look a little bit lighter than the clothing around it. Tiny little highlights on the corners to sell that, and then back to the knee pads again. When you're painting a figure that is basically all the same colour, well in fact he really hasn't got any colour on him, it's all just tones, then you've got to work quite hard to make sure that you're separating all of the different elements of the character. In this case it's about how bright you go, how dark you start, and how bright you start as well. So we've got things like the underclothing, which the highlights, as you can see here, are pretty close to the original colour, that German grey. And then you've got the really super bright bits like the cloak, like the shoulder armour, which started off bright and then go right up to white. The boots here, they're starting black, and I'm hardly doing anything on them at all. The first highlight is just an edge highlight, German grey, then a touch more. The same with the box on his chest, it should be black, should be shiny black. So I've just picked out some tiny bits on the corners, not even highlighted the whole thing. Things like the bits on the top of the head there and the top of the shoulders, they're getting loads, and I keep going back and adding more and more and more white and lighter colour. Same as the cloak there. Back and forth here, putting a little bit of black just to separate out the sort of waistband that he's got there, like a big cummerbund. And then a tiny bit of highlighting here to make it, well, not just look like a grey mush on the middle of his body. A little bit of bright highlight here again. You can see how it makes those elbow pads stand out against just the really straight grey. In this section I'm really looking at black leather bits. So the gloves here, some straps on his leg and his boots, and you can see the straps there on the leg just getting a little bit of German grey. I go quite bright with the highlights, but really small, and it's just to separate them out from the grey of the clothing. You can see here edge highlights there. I mean, those straps should be black leather, but it looks alright with a little highlight just to make them stand out. The laces here on the original, I'm going to say a costume, it's not a costume, on the space armour of Count Binface, the laces are black, but here a bit of white or a bit of light grey makes them stand out against the boots. And when you're painting a miniature, that's the important thing. You're selling the separate parts, and you need to use contrast to do that as much as possible. Time for the glowing blue visor on the Recyclon, or Recyclotron, or something, I don't know. I mean, it's a bin. I need to build up layers of white on this, and on this miniature that slot in there is super deep, so it took a lot of white paint, just using some turquoise blue here, I can't remember which brand it is, and then just very lightly putting some on around the outside, not too big a glow. And then it's onto the cloak. So this is black and German grey. I want something that's pretty close to the black undercolour that's on the cloak already. You can see, I mean, you can see it there, it looks quite light, but when it's dried it's a little bit darker, and I'm going to go in with a very fine smaller highlight with just a tiny bit of straight German grey in there, only enough to make the cloak stand out a bit. Now I had that turquoise on my palette and the bin was looking a little bit boring, so I just put a little bit on there, really thin. Maybe it's like a reflection of the sky or something, but it helped to make the bin stand out slightly from the rest of the outfit. Some yellow in here. I used a bit of yellow, a bit of white, a bit of red, just to make a sort of a light. And then finally, Lord Buckethead's severed head. There's some pink, some red, some flesh, just to make it look like it's been removed from the body. Anyway, that is Buckethead done. Not Buckethead, what am I saying? Binface, Count Binface, all finished, ready for basing. So I'm keeping this base really simple. That's just the super glue and baking powder. Gives us a sandy kind of surface. And I'm starting off with that yellow colour. Come back in with heavy gold brown. It's a bit of a slow-mo there, exciting times. Just to tone that yellow down, it's a bit too bright. So I used that to make a bit of a shadow around the feet. It's gone on a little bit wet, a little bit thin. And then finally, I come in with pale sand, actually used to paint pale sand. I think it's the first time in my life I've used pale sand to paint sand, so that was exciting. The dry brush didn't quite get everywhere I wanted it to go, so just a tiny bit of work with a brush to get rid of some of the really aggressive yellow. And then the most exciting bit, the black. base rim. Now at this point I was giving this as a gift to a friend. I was going out later this day, so I was very excited to get the black rim on it. A quick bit of AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish, and you can see the final effects in just a second. So that was the Mini done with just hours to spare, and it was time to get him packed up in his intergalactic space pod and find out if my friend actually was going to like her leaving gift or not. I hope she was. Let's find out.
I have to hear what you say.
So that worked out all right then. She really liked it, and that was brilliant. It was a fantastic, fun miniature to paint, and ended up being a really nice gift. If you made it this far, I thank you as always for sticking all the way to the end, and I'll catch you again in the next one.